Welcome, one and all, to the December 17th edition of the Signals from Mars live stream, the last live stream of the year. First off, I want to wish everyone happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Festivus, Happy New Year, so on and so forth. I don't want to be saying Happy New Year 2 weeks into January, so I'll just say it now ahead of time. You guys have all been forewarned. And we have Jose in the chat already. And today's exciting episode, which for those that weren't able to join us on Fireside with Jeremy and Brad did, we recapped albums 78 through 26. So let's see. I thought Steve had a perplexed look on his face. Steve, can you hear us? I don't think Steve can hear us. He continues to look perplexed. Anyway. There we have the folks from Fiction 6.
All right. Hey, Mark.
Joining us. And we have Johan up in Sweden joining us. Johan, well, I have to, since we have someone from Fiction 6 in here, and we have Johan who joined us with the Horndal t-shirt. We did recap 80 through 26. And let's see here real quickly, because both bands came up on the show before. The Fiction 6 album came in at 63, and the Horndal album came in at 34, Johan. So hopefully that doesn't get you up in arms.
I think we need to have both those bands on the show.
Well, we can definitely try to do that. Again, as I explained during the previous show that we were doing, recapping 78 through 26, a lot of this had to do with the fact that multiple people voted for the same album. There are albums that ranked high on my list, a lot of them, which ended up between 26 through 80. There are others that, because they got voted on by multiple people, are here. So, Steve, are you there? Steve,
it's always somebody.
And he's gone. Okay. Anyway, so why don't we do this? The intention is to talk about the top 25, but real quickly we'll do we'll do let's see, the top 30 here. So real quickly, at 30 was the so let's see, from Fiction 6, We're Not Everyone's Cup of Tea, but I Am Addicted to Writing Music. So working on number 4 right now. Awesome. Yeah, and I think, like I said, the biggest issue is coinciding with other people. Each one of these albums, depending on what people ranked on their top 10 list, the number 1 album got 10 points. And that goes all the way down to 10, which would receive 1 point. So we're tallying up points here of what were the highest, or the ones that received the most amount of points. So anyway, so at 30, LA Maybe with Dirty Damn Tricks. 29, Evanescence with The Bitter Truth. 28, Enforced with Kill Grind. 27, Crazy Licks with Street Lethal. 26, Bullet for My Valentine with Bullet for My Valentine. And up to now, that's what we had discussed on the previous show. So we are now crossing the threshold into some new territory here. At 25, an album that was a Patron's pick It is the Bronx with Bronx 4. Or no, Bronx 6, my bad. Was an album that was picked by Jeremy, number 24. And again, that was gauging by the points. That was your number 3 out of your top 10.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, great, yeah. Really great album.
Yeah. Number 24, Victory with Gods of Tomorrow. Number 23, The Quill and Earthrise. Hold that thought. Fiction 6. Let's see. Where was I at here? So The Quill, and real quickly, because the person that voted really high for that was our Mike Jones. I do want to send a shout out to Mike Jones, and real quickly to all the people that haven't been able to join us. Steve, can you hear us now?
I can hear you.
All right, awesome.
Hear me?
We have the Hokinator on board with us. No, he's the Hoker today. So want to send the shout out to Ed Ferguson. Want to send the shout out to Rob Rowe from the Rock and Roll Podcast, Metal Dan, Jerry from Long Island, Jose from Connecticut, who is in the chat, Chris Vaglio from the Chris and Amanda Show, the Metal Dentist, Mr. Gabriel Ruiz, and let's see, we obviously have Dr. Poison, Brad Dahl from Yarg Metal. We have Mr. Patron's Pick himself, Jerry Weltman, and we already said Mr. Steve Hoker, and obviously Johan, is it better to refer to you as the metal chef or the metal politician?
Good question. I can. Both are good.
Both are good. Okay.
Yeah.
How about the Swedish chef, or has that already been taken?
That was on the Muppets.
What?
That was the Muppets.
What?
Anyway. All right. So we got up to the Quill. Number 22. And not Acacia Avenue, but Knocked Loose with a Tear in the Fabric of Life. Number 21. The self-titled album by Dirty Honey. Number 20, Battle Lessons by Damon Johnson. Number 19, In My World by Cheap Trick. Number 18, it is Doom Crew Inc. by Black Label Society. Number 17, Onto Others, Strength. That was Johan's number 1, correct?
Yes. Aha.
You want to say anything about that album?
Yeah. Yes, I want to. This is an album that it's not. It's an easy album to listen to, but for me, it's. I don't know. I like it because it sounds like the 80s, obviously, but it sounds like Mercy, Depeche Mode, going through metal, and I don't know why. I really like it. It's because it speaks to me in many ways, and the biggest paper in Sweden actually did an article of them.
Okay.
I think it speaks to us up here.
Okay. Johan, you're cutting out a little bit. Your bars are down to like the last bar here. We have Rob Rowe joining us. Looks like. There he is. Hiding behind the microphone once again.
Shut up. How's everybody doing it? Everybody doing good? Everybody ready for a little Christmas cheer?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So at 16 here, we have Trivium with In the Court of the Dragon. That's an album that you ranked pretty high, Rob. Give us...
Yeah, I gave it number 1.
Okay.
I love that album. It's so good. You know, I everybody else can say, oh, whatever, you know, but I love that album. It, you know, Trivium back in the day was really, really good. And then they went during that like soft pattern, if you will, and then they came back up. And this album and the album before, I can't remember what the title was, but they really like gave it their all. And, you know, to me, that expresses a lot of emotions that they were really ready to get out there and, you know, blast some beats again, you know, and a lot of metal bands don't do that anymore.
Right. Yeah, so the album before is What the Dead Men Say.
Yeah.
That last year. Yeah, and like you said before during the Fireside show, you know, they released 2 really good albums back to back in 2, you know, continuous years. So it's awesome. There's, you know, very few bands are able to do that, you know, are able to have all of that material in order to do that kind of stuff. So let's see here. So any other albums that you guys want to discuss that I just mentioned before we get into the top 15 here?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Steve. Or who said yeah?
You won.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Go
ahead. I disappeared in the middle.
Okay.
Yeah. In your press in UK or US, has Unto Others gotten any press or any fame at all? I just curious.
With your list, it was the first time that I had heard anything about them with this album. It's definitely an album that I want to check out, as I've told a bunch of people, and actually we mentioned this before on Fireside. There's 78 albums that were submitted between everyone. So it was difficult to pick out of those 78 what was my top 10. You know, it's very hard to even from that extend the list farther to figure out some of these other albums. I listened to a lot of stuff this week up until a few hours ago to determine, you know, what was going to be in my top 10. If things were, you know, worthy of being there. To me, it had to be an album that not only was good now, but one that I felt that would be good a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, that I'll still be listening to stuff off of it. So definitely there's a lot of stuff that I haven't been able to listen to yet that I absolutely want to check out that was on people's lists here. Steve at 18, which I should have paused there, but Black Label Society, Doom Crew Inc., that's one that made it on your list. What stood out to you about that album this year?
I think we actually talked about it last week, that it's more like the older Black Label stuff.
Okay.
That was kind of a step back a little bit to how I just, I don't know, I like it. I haven't really listened to it that many times, but it was number 2 on my list.
Right.
So that's pretty good if you only heard them, you know, maybe 2 times all the way through, and you're already like, okay, this can be a second.
and I mean, in your opinion, it's definitely something that you're going to probably listen to quite a bit moving forward, I would imagine.
Yeah, I would think so.
Cool. Any other albums that I just mentioned that anyone else wants to discuss? Jeremy, Brad?
Yeah, I was going to say about the Bronx 6 album, but then I really wanted to talk about the Damon Johnson one. That was a really great album that came out. I was pointed in the direction of that album, and I didn't hear anything off it, so I bought it on CD, and I play it a lot. It's a really good, solid rocker. There's some, good songs all the way through on that album, so I highly recommend it. As well as Bronx 6 as well, because that's a great punk album. If you really like something that's in your face, very punky, but melodic, that's a cracking album as well.
Yeah, it's with the Damon Johnson album, it was kind of weird because it was supposed to be released, and the release date changed. There were a bunch of weird things that happened with that, and then he just started selling it at shows, so it seemed as if it didn't get picked up with a lot of the usual outlets.
Yeah, you couldn't actually buy it in the UK. I ordered it with another guy in the UK, and we shared the shipping costs. So we reckon we've got the only 2 albums in the UK, because he never came over in the end to tour, and he was actually going to come again in December, and the tour got cancelled. He was supporting, I think, Buck Cherry. And he never came over again. So we may just have the only albums, and they're signed as well, which I didn't realize they were going to be, but that was a nice touch.
Very cool. So we are welcoming Jerry from Long Island as well.
What's going on, guys?
Iron Maiden shirt.
I wonder what he's going to vote
What's
for.
up, fellas?
Yeah,
I voted for Rush.
Unless you're Johan and freak out every time.
All right, guys. So let's keep moving here. If any of these albums stick out to you guys between now and the top 10, I'm going to go 15 through 11. Just stop me and let me know if you want to talk about these albums. At 15, we have Flotsam and Jetsam with Blood in the Water. At 14, we have Dream Theater with A View from the Top of the World. That's one. Jerry, you voted on that one. Anything you want to mention about that album?
It's not as complete as I thought. I think there's only 7 songs on there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one of them is, I think 24 minutes long, but it's just not a complete record.
Gotcha. All right. 13, we have The Darkness with Motorheart. 12. Dyslexic there for a second. An album that a bunch of people voted on. Cannibal Corpse, Violence Unimagined. Rob, I think you voted for that one, right?
I did. That's a badass album.
Very cool. And at 11 is an album that a lot of people voted on, a lot of different people voted on, but like I mentioned during the pre-show, unless a lot of people voted for it higher up on their list, it didn't get pushed up as far. So this album, Wallflowers by Ginger, made it onto a lot of people's lists.
Yes, it was on mine for sure. Yeah,
but it was lower down out of 10. So when you started to add up the numbers, it wasn't ranked as high as some of these other albums. So give us your thought on Wallflower from Ginger, Rob.
Just a badass album. I mean, you have a woman that can sing and scream. I mean, come on. And everybody else is just jamming. I mean, what else do you need? I mean, for me, in my opinion, just kicks ass. I mean, that's all you need.
Absolutely.
I can't say anything more than that. It's just a badass album.
We have Chris Vaglio joining us in the chat. Chris, if you want to get involved, you're a patron. I can send you the link. He's saying the record is amazing. The production is sick. So let me see if I can pull this off. All
See,
right.
there you go. Yeah, that final. Yeah, it's brutal. Yeah, it is.
So here we go at number 10. It is an album that made it on several people's lists. And let's see here. Let me share my screen. Let's see what this looks like. So number 10 is Fear Factory, Aggression Continuum.
Yeah, good album. Good album.
The album was, once again, voted by several people. And due to the placement, it made it into the 10. It barely made it in here. There are a few that that squeaked it out, that that were in and out leading up to this, but finally ended up making it into the top 10 itself. It's an album that I voted for, an album that had a lot of weird stuff attached to it, because you had just the stuff that was going on with the band. You have a singer that appeared on this album who's no longer part of the band, an album that was recorded, I think for all intents and purposes, 3 or 4 years ago. It had a different title until, due to legal things, it was released after the fact. And trying to make this look decent so we all show up here, but it doesn't seem as if we all can. All right, I guess that kind of works. All right, and let's see. Number 9 is one that, again, several people jumped in on this one. It's an album that I haven't even had a chance to listen to. There's so much good stuff, in my opinion, that did come out this year, that there's stuff that I'm still trying to check out at the moment. Let's see, did it show up? Yeah. So the next album is, do that, Exodus with Persona Non Grata. The return of Exodus after a few years. Obviously, we had Tom Hunter with the issues with his cancer, and the second album with Zetro back in the band. Any one of you guys check this album out already? What are your thoughts? All right. I guess everyone voted for it is not here tonight, but it made it to number 9. So let's see here. Good thing I'm just sharing basketball stuff and not anything more nefarious there.
Yeah, somebody needs to sell me on that Exodus album. But I guess obviously this is the wrong group for that.
Hey,
Yeah.
Brad, I'll get you on that album. It's a good album.
All right.
Because I was the one that voted on that, but I didn't want to be the one guy going, "Oh, it's me again."
Well, you're picking all the top albums, Rob. So you're you're the star.
That's fine. It can be you again, Rob. There's no shame in that. So we got no problem with you commenting on stuff. I believe that Ed and Mike Jones both voted on that album as well. And obviously, like I said, if 2 or 3 people voted on an album, it made it in here. So
it's good. It's really a good album. Check it out, Brad.
Okay.
For real.
All right. Putting it on my list.
There you go. Rob is helping make your pockets lighter. So see, I'm not the only one doing this now.
Yeah, but you're the main one, Victor.
Yeah.
Nobody spends more of my money than you.
There you go. All right.
There you go.
I am now prepared, folks. Sorry. Anyway, so let's see here. Let's get back to sharing the screen here. Oh, okay. I can do it this way instead. All right, cool. Here we go.
Oh,
Number 8 is Typhoons by Royal Blood. It's an
Superb.
album that, for me personally, I had to go back and think, again, is this something that I still like all these months later? I mean, I listen to songs here and there all the time and in different mixes that I have set up, but is it something that I think I'll be listening to in a year? Or is it something that I'll be listening to, 5-10 years from now? And I listened to it, earlier this week, and I enjoyed it as much as I did when I first listened to it. There we go. Jeremy has the vinyl. I believe you have the same edition that I do from Amazon,
Yeah.
which is a pink clear vinyl. Yeah.
Are they like from Europe?
Yeah, they're a British band. They're
Okay.
real big in the UK, but in the States, the farthest they've gotten is they opened up for Foo Fighters 2 albums ago, I believe. And that's
Yeah,
actually,
I was gonna say I'd never heard of them.
yeah, it's 2 guys, and each one, they have 3 albums out. Each album sounds completely different. The first album sounds more like a Zeppelin album in the sense that it's got those big booming drums, and it's got, it's a drummer and a bass player who sings, and the bass player is a fuzzed out bass that sounds like a guitar a lot of the time. So it's a real interesting mix. So you think of 2 people, it's not White Stripes. It's a lot heavier than that. Their second album went in a different direction. And this third album, which is produced by Josh from Queens of the Stone Age, is
really?
Yeah, this actually has more of a like pop element to it, and even, dancey type stuff like what Queens did with their last album.
Okay.
That is number 8. So let's see here. Jeremy, you somehow have turned sideways on us. Oh, and we can't hear you now.
I don't want him to feel left off.
Uh-oh. See. Jeremy, we can't hear you. Gotta love how this always just runs smoothly every week.
He was like, "We can't hear you."
All right. So number 7 on the list. Oh, let's get Jeremy back. Let's see. Jeremy, you were talking a lot, but we couldn't hear you.
Yeah, I was basically saying that you guys went all dark on me. I couldn't see anything, and then suddenly I was sideways. I don't know what was going on, but no, I just wanted to say that the Royal Blood album is absolutely fantastic. It's a real breath of fresh air, and you've got to open your mind up to something that's a bit different. I think it's not, it's not a heavy metal album. It's kind of disco metal, isn't it? But it's it's great.
Yeah, it's an interesting mix of things.
Yeah,
for sure. So number 7, it is Gojira with Fortitude, an album that, again, made my list, and an album that I went back and revisited after a few months, and I remembered the singles off of it, but then I went and re-listened to the entire album a few times, and really there was a lot of stuff off of it that I really like. I like the direction that the brothers have gone with this. I know that a lot of people have, claimed that they've gotten softer. If you listen to the stuff, if you consider becoming maybe a little bit more orchestrated in their composition and adding clean guitar parts and stuff to the madness that they're usually known for is becoming softer. Well, I don't know. I guess, but I still think it's a pretty heavy album. Anyone else get to check this album out? All right. We see
No, I don't think anybody did.
Okay. A lot of heads saying no, but anyway, next. An album that I introduced a bunch of you people to. This is the self-titled album by Angelus Apatrida comes in at number 6. And
Who?
Angelus
Say again?
is the name of the
I'm
band.
sorry.
Here we go. This is a band out of here in Spain. They are on Century Media. They have been for the last 15 years. They've essentially toured everywhere in the world except for the US. Their physical albums are available everywhere in the world except for the US. That for some reason Century Media has decided not to release physical copies of this. But like I said, every album comes out. They're usually do a headline tour of Europe, and they've supported bands like Slayer, Megadeth, Anthrax, and Maiden on tours and previous festival dates.
I'd forgotten all about this album, and it's actually brilliant. A really good thrash album. They're a great band.
Jerry, we can't hear you. Let me see.
Yeah.
Come on. There's an unmute button. Hit it.
Let's see. Jerry, you there? Yeah.
Good.
There he is. There he is.
Yeah.
Well,
You got to put me in the small box, Victor.
there you go. Now we
There he
can.
is.
All right.
You have to send us a copy of that record.
I can definitely send you links to where you can check it out. That's for sure.
And made it in the top 10, but it's not sold in America. I mean, what the fuck am I supposed to do?
Well, if you're into thrash, I think you'll enjoy the album. It's definitely a good time thrash album. At 5, this was an album that multiple people reminded me of coming out, which again, this is an album that I checked out early on, but didn't revisit. And then it made it on multiple people's lists. It ended up at number 5 is Dee Snider's Leave a Scar. I went back and I've been listening to this all week, and it's easily made it on my list and a bunch of other people's. Steve, you're smiling. Steve is...
Who is it?
Yeah. Steve pulling my leg this week. I said, can you send me your list? And he sent me 1 through 10, and 1 through 10 spelt out Dee Snider. So,
And 1.
before he sent me the whole thing. So, Steve, since you are the connoisseur of all things Twisted Sister and Dee Snider, give us your opinion on this album.
It's okay. No, it was my number 1 pick.
And number 2
But,
pick.
Okay. I don't know. It's really, really good. It's heavier than Twisted Sister, but it still sounds Twisted Sisterish.
Right.
It's got the choruses that they're known for and that we all love. Well,
Right.
At least I do. I think it's a really solid album.
Yeah, it's funny that this album and the previous album, For the Love of Metal, produced by Jamie Jostin. He's co-written a bunch of things as well with him, where the first complaint was, oh, I don't like this screamy stuff. And I'm thinking, you didn't like the anthems that Twisted Sister had? Because, yeah, the music's heavier, and I get it. He's added some things that were, comes from the whole Josta line of things, but I think it still fits in with what he did, what he's done in the past. And believe me, after doing pop punk albums and Broadway albums, this was the Dee Snider that I've been wanting for years. An angry, pissed off Dee Snider, which is what we got in the early days of Twisted Sister. So I like the album. Who else said that they voted for it?
It didn't make my top 10, but it was right
How
there.
dare you?
I know,
Damn it,
I know.
Brad.
Well, I knew that you would bring it up. I mean, it made the top 10 anyway without my vote. But I really like what Dee's done in his last two albums. I think he's got a great band. I've got the live DVD and CD as well, and those guys kick ass, man. And I think I don't know. I think Dee's on a pretty cool track. It's nice to see somebody at this point of their career that's somewhat reinvented themselves and have done it in a great way.
Yep. Agree. Now, with the pre-show that we did, I asked both Jeremy and Brad to see what they thought would be the top three, and they each gave us their picks. We're down to the top four here. I forget, Jeremy, you said, well, actually, before getting too into it, because I don't want to give much away, because the two of you were pretty accurate. Number four, a band that I got to interview, it is Witherfall with Curse of Autumn.
Yeah. What a band. What an album. What an album. This is my number one album.
Great band.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, this album is probably the best prog metal album that has ever been released. Ever.
Wow.
It's beautifully produced. It's packaged brilliantly. There's posters in there. There's fantastic vinyl. But the songwriting.
Uh-oh.
Yep. No more Jeremy. It's gone sideways.
Oh,
Sideways Jeremy again.
yeah, he's gone.
Oh. Yeah, this is actually my number one as well. Just ridiculous playing, stuff that personally I wasn't expecting, just a mix between the melodies and the guitar riffs, and they've got Marco Miniman on drums, who was one of the finalists for a Dream Theater spot when Mike Mangini took over for Portnoy. Every member of this band is talented as all hell. The songwriting is just there, and they've progressively gotten better. And I was thrilled to be able to speak to them earlier this year. And from the first time that I heard this, I've been playing songs off of it. It's just, to me, it's just that good. So, if you guys haven't checked it out, I will be posting the entire top, all 78 albums that were ultimately voted on. I'll be posting them on the page, both on Patreon and on my own page on MarsAttacksRadio.com. So if there's anything that you guys missed out on, definitely you guys can go there. And again,
All right, if we're gonna go with the 78 route, who's the better? Ace Frehley, Peter Criss, Gene Simmons. Who's the better in the 78 route?
Not 78 solo albums, Brad. Or not Brad, sorry. Rob. See, Brad, you're getting blamed for things you don't do now.
Yeah, I'm still writing my solo album.
There you go.
Unfortunately, the title Armageddon's already been taken.
There you go. Hey, Jerry, I just got to notice that the Rangers are going to be playing in 5 minutes. So you're still going to hang out with us, right? You're not going to be jumping over to watch a Rangers game?
Victor, you know I don't root for the Rangers. Come on now, brother. I had a rough night last night at USB, if you're paying attention. We lost 3-1, Victor.
Yeah, I don't
freaking out over.
Yeah, I gotta hang my autographed Mark Messier jersey behind me here in your honor, Jerry. All right, so let's get to number 3 here. Number 3 is what a member of Fiction 6 mentioned before in the chat. Brought up thinking that the Evanescence album was strong, but also Spirit Box's Eternal Blue is number 3. This is an album that I went back and forth with on the order. I listened to it several times myself this week. This band, in my opinion, has gone above and beyond a lot of other bands with what they've done with their packaging and what they've offered. So I get that a lot of people have voted for this, not only here, but all over a lot of different metal sites. If you guys have seen the unboxing that I did, the thing just looks ridiculous. I mean, the vinyl looks like a giant CD, how they package it. It's a giant booklet with all the songwriting, with all the songwriting credits, with all the lyrics, with just amazing graphics. Jeremy mentioned that it looked like something that you usually get in a box set, and they were selling it for, I got it for like $25, I believe it was. It wasn't that expensive. Yeah, I'm paying a lot more for other vinyls where people are just fucking throwing a black vinyl in a jacket, basically, not doing much more. So this album, to me, if we want to just go on the packaging and all the coolness of it, I think kicked everyone's ass, because it was just ridiculous with what they offered. The copy that I have is like a transparent blue. I know Chris, who was in the chat before, has a white and blue splatter, which looked really cool as well. They just were interviewed for Forbes magazine, actually. So, that just goes to show the attention that they've been getting. 2 of the members were formerly part of I Wrestled a Bear Once, and this is completely different, because this album really has a little of everything for everyone. Courtney LaPlante, the lead singer, does a lot of clear vocals, does a lot of growling as well.
Yeah.
And it all kind of makes sense. It isn't just growling for the sake of growling. The songs kind of transition to places where it kind of needs it. So, Rob, you had this on your list as well. What are your thoughts on the album?
Well, my thoughts on the album is it kind of reminds me of early Breaking Benjamin, if that makes like sense.
Mm-hmm.
Just blast down. You know what I mean?
Right.
Have you heard like early Breaking Benjamin, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, they're from actually, I think they're the singers from Nashville, but a good portion of the band is from Eastern Pennsylvania. So the station that we had tuned in when I used to work in Western New Jersey would play Breaking Benjamin before they were big. They would play the essentially the demo versions of songs like Skin and Polyamorous all the time. So I'm very familiar with them. But yeah, so go ahead.
That's it.
All
go
right.
ahead.
Number 2, an album that Jeremy joked when he sent me his list. The joke was, how high up will Brad rate this album? This will depend on where it will end up on the list. And sure as shit, he was right, because Brad's number 1 was Udo Game Over. So the number 2 album is the last Udo album, which, to me, I enjoy a lot of it. I didn't rank it as high as some of the other people, but it got the votes to push it up to number 2. Now Brad has all of a sudden disappeared, so here he comes.
Yeah, I don't know. I went looking for it, and because I know I have it here somewhere. And anyway, Yeah, I think they just nailed it. The sounds good. The songs are good. Other than the keyboard song, that's that makes my wife laugh when she hears that. But the other songs just rock. I mean, it's hard to believe they could come up with 13 great riffs that resonate. So there you go.
Very cool.
It sounds good. It's fun to listen to. I mean, I don't know. You can put it in the same boat as like a band like AC/DC, where you know what you're going to get and you like it.
Well,
yeah, I think Udo's like Accept, isn't he? Where you just know you're going to get a solid album from him all the time, and that's good.
I think he puts out, and I realize he's got different people writing on. I don't know how many of the last few albums he's had different people contributing. These new kids, though, they kind of get what is going on with Udo, but yet it's not like it's the same thing over and over. And it's a great band. They're fun to watch. I don't know if you've got anybody looked at that the live show they put out last year. But it's fantastic.
Is that the one? Yeah, I've got that album actually. I think.
It's the one in
Are
Bulgaria.
you?
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
Are you on mute?
So yeah, it was the lockdown concert.
Are you on
That's the one.
But anyway, who knew? Who knew? I had a
Yeah.
hard time not
I
making
don't
him number
know.
one.
You wouldn't answer.
We got trouble.
I didn't want to
so
talk. Not muted.
let's before we get to number one, let me just recap real quickly the 10 through 2 spot. So at 10 we had Fear Factory with Aggression Continuum, 9 Exodus with Persona Non Grata, 8 Royal Blood with Typhoons, 7 Gojira with Fortitude, 6 Angelus Apatrida with Angelus Apatrida, 5 D. Snyder with Leave a Scar, 4 Witherfall with Curse of Autumn, 3 Spirit Box with Eternal Blue. Number 2 is Udo with Game Over.
This guy was even on a read.
And I mentioned this on the pre-show.
See?
We're what I'm going to be doing is setting up 2 different shows for the Mars Attacks radio show. I'm going to do a show with the top 10 songs or 10 songs from the albums that you guys have picked, and then I will do a separate show where I'm going to run down like 25 songs that I personally picked from other bands that we didn't talk about tonight. We did talk about, but they were ranked 78 through 26 or even up to 2. But we will have the full list up on the site. And as some of you guys have already speculated, at number 1,
Are you smoking in here?
No.
There's a burn hole in the sheet.
at number 1, we have Iron Maiden with Senjutsu. Jerry, obviously you voted this number 1. You bought it 3 times, you're saying. You bought it on red vinyl, silver vinyl, and CD. So, and just from the start, I remember when the album came out, you mentioned how much you loved it. So I'm sure you're not shocked that it was number 1.
No, I'm not. I stuffed the ballot box.
There you go. But I will
voted
say
100
that
times.
I will say that Johan, you voted this number 2, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yes, absolutely. It's a great album. It's an album with long songs, but I mean you don't have to listen to the whole album at once. So for me, it's the songs are. I mean, this is a great album, and it's class. Absolutely classy album. I love it. Thank you.
Awesome. Anyone else check this album out and enjoy it?
Yeah, I bought it after a while. I wasn't sure if I'd liked it at first, but it has grown on me, and I think it stands up there as one of their better albums, to be honest, in the last sort of 5, 6, 7, 8 years or whatever. I think it's it's a grower. There's a good mix of songs on it. That Stratego is the sort of the shorter song that everybody seems to be talking about, but if you listen to the longer ones, I think if you invest time in it, I think it is a good album.
Cool. Definitely this was the landslide number one. Obviously, they're probably the biggest hard rock or metal band to release an album this year. So, so many people voted for it. It outpaced everyone from the start. I had fingers crossed that it would be a little closer, but it is what it is. Jerry's saying that he picked up tickets for October. Brad, you saw them, or you're going to see them in September. So awesome. Jeremy hopes to. I guess they'll probably be playing festivals here next year, and probably in Sweden and everything else. So, oh, cool. So Jerry's saying that great package, gatefold, artwork is insane. That's awesome. Again, if a band is making you pay the amount of money that they are to pick up the vinyl, to me, as a fan, I want it to be worth my while. I want it to have all that cool stuff and not just be, you get the vinyl and it's okay, black vinyl, and then you pull it out and it's a clear jacket and it's like, all right, they don't care, but it's cool that they take the time to do that. Before we end the show, is there any album that you guys are looking forward to in 2022 that you guys have heard about, a band that will be releasing something? Maybe a single has come out already, or is there a band that you'd like to see release new material next year? Jerry, since you got the number one pick here, I'll let you go first. And you're saying that Bullet for My Valentine did no artwork. That Bullet album, by the way, was 26th on the list out of anyone's choice. So is there anyone that you're looking forward to releasing music next year, Jerry?
I can't think of anything right now, Victor. I'm still hammered.
Okay. Johan, how about you? Is there anything that you're looking forward to coming out next year?
Yes, I think the new Crush Diet will be exciting.
Rush.
Rush. Are they coming out?
They're releasing a book. They're releasing a book, the 40th anniversary of Moving Pictures. So it's going to be a lot of like behind the scenes stuff that's never been released. They announced it earlier this week, and that's coming out next year. So you have that to look forward to.
Yeah. No, Crush Diet. The single. Wait, I remember. Do you remember what the name was? The new single?
Yeah, I posted a few of them.
Yeah.
The album's coming out, I believe, in February, if I'm not mistaken. I'll look that up real quick. There's also
No Man's Land. The single was No Man's Land. So the new album is going to be exciting to hear.
Yeah, and also another band from Sweden that you talked about a little bit is Arch Enemy, who will be releasing their new album as well.
Yeah, of course.
I'm sure that's something you'll be looking forward to.
Yeah. Of course. No.
And Steve, I'm not sure if there will be any D. Snyder or Twisted Sister releases next year.
Fingers crossed, though.
Fingers crossed. What are you looking forward to outside of that?
If I remember correctly, Overkill had an album coming out sometime in 2022, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, they're working on that, and they also have a box set where they're releasing the Atlantic Years album, similar to what Skid Row just did, and it's going to be all that on CD and on vinyl remastered.
Cool.
So that's coming. I think it's next month. It's either January or February that's coming out. And Jerry actually mentioned that Korn and Sabaton. I like that last Korn album, and I like the new single that they've released. So I look forward to that as well. There's a band that I interviewed earlier this year called Tetrarch, who sounds a lot like them, that I thought put out a really good album this year. But like I mentioned before, it was high on my list, but was kind of lower on the overall scheme of things. It was 60, but if you're into Korn, I would definitely recommend checking it out. Brad.
Yes, sir.
What are you looking forward to checking out in the coming year? Do you have a list ready for 2022, or do I have to start feeding you more music to buy?
I think you're already doing that. Yeah, so if anybody's listening and you're not in the Patreon group, you should do that so you can buy new albums like I do when you hear all this great music that Victor puts out there. It's only $2 a month, get you in the door. Then you might want to chip in more because it's more fun. Scorpions, man. I want to hear that album. I'm really hoping that this is one that really lights a fire in me, that it's not going to be like the last few that were just like, yeah, that's all right. You know, I want them to go out with a bang. Isn't that what they like to say? Yeah. So, and then of course, I don't know if Fiction 6 is still there, but this is their latest album. I encourage everybody to check it out. They did do a cover of Children of the Sea on here too. It's the last song on here. So if you for you Sabbath fans, good dudes, good music all over the place, great musicianship. And if he's really working on a fourth album, I'll be there for that. So there you go.
Well, he did say that in the chat earlier. So
yeah,
we'll see. Hopefully that is the case. I will say that the Peacemaker single from Scorpions caught me off guard. Like you, last 2-3 albums have been kind of a letdown to me personally. So that song seems to be going in the right direction. So hopefully the rest of the album is kind of like that. I'm hoping that it's like a tattoo off of Van Halen's A Different Kind of Truth, where they released Tattoo, which was like the weakest song as the single, and then when you got into the album, it had a lot of other good stuff on it. But
it's pretty rare for me that the first song released for bands that I like ends up being my favorite song off the album. Right. So got that. Also, I've heard a rumor that Dokken has actually done a new album, that they've finished recording it, which I'm shocked and amazed. I don't know who's singing on it. That's a joke, by the way.
Yeah, Robert Mason probably.
It should be great then. Oh, fuck. Which I desperately wanted the End Machine to put that in my top 10, but their second album is just all right for me.
Yeah, it had like 4 or 5 decent songs on it, but the rest of it was kind of filler. I mean,
yeah, it kind of felt like George Lynch, because he's writing for like 20 different projects, that these are the leftovers or something. I expected more, especially when you got Jeff Pilson involved. I mean, that dude knows his stuff. He's a great producer. I mean, it's a great sounding album. And especially the bass, but he's a great songwriter in his own right. I expected more from that album. Oh, the new Black Swan album, when that comes, I'm really looking forward to that.
Cool. Yeah, I was gonna say with George, too many damn. He released like 78 albums this year, and it seems like everything is just a little bit more watered down than the next thing.
Yeah.
You know, if he'd focus on just one thing there, and maybe he would put out some, you know, real kick-ass music. But you know, it's again 4 or 5 good songs out of everything he's released, and he's released a shitload of stuff. So Jerry said,
and you know, talking about Black Swan, and you know,
Yeah.
Reb Beach is the guitar player there, and I'm sure his songwriting's all over it. Winger should have a new album out next year, and I really like the last 4 or 5 albums they've done since they've been back together. So I'm looking forward to that being a real heavy rock album. Yep.
Yeah, well, they've gone more in a progressive direction, I think, since they kind of put stuff back together. So
The thing is that they actually cover a lot of bases on the albums. I mean, it's not like one song sounds like the next song sounds like the next song. I mean, certainly the stuff you're going to hear off those last few albums on Yard Metal are going to be the real fast rock songs and that. But you're right, there is some weird kind of proggy kind of moments and stuff. I mean, Kip is very orchestral in his writing now. So I think it's great stuff, and it always sounds good. So A+ on those guys. So yeah, there's a lot to look forward to in 2022. Plus, I'm gonna hopefully set foot in Sweden for the first time ever, and second time ever setting foot in Spain. First time ever setting foot in the UK. Hopefully that happens in 2022.
You are welcome.
Yeah.
we can hope.
Yeah, I'll be knocking on your door, man.
Yeah.
So Jeremy, you joined me first tonight over on Fireside.
Yeah.
So I wanted to go back to you last to kind of close the loop here. And,
yeah, I mean, there's if you think 2021 was a good year, 2022 is going to absolutely break records, because there's so much music coming out from established acts next year that it's going to be amazing. You've just talked about Scorpions, Rock Believer. I've got that on order, and we talked about Dokken, which was another one on my list. Next year, there could well be a Judas Priest album. Firepower was out in 2018. I believe that they're finalizing the songs for the next album, and with the delayed tour, I think there's going to be a new album from them. Megadeth, there's going to be a new album from them next year. There's going to be Saxon in February as well, along with Scorpions. Carpe Diem is the album. Looking forward to that one. Ozzy Osbourne has got a new album coming out, which we know Tony Iommi is on, and a few other guests. And the final one on my list, quite an interesting one, Vandenberg has got together with David Coverdale, and they're doing an album together. So, there's a lot of good stuff coming out, and they're just the established acts, and we know that, there's going to be loads of other smaller bands releasing umpteen numbers of albums, and it's just going to be a great year. I'm looking forward to it.
And we just saw they posted a picture of Richie Faulkner actually recording a guest solo on somebody's album. I don't remember who it is. That they posted on Blabbermouth, I guess, yesterday or the day before. So that's encouraging.
Yeah, it's also great to see Richie up and about, and after what he went through, and we're really looking forward to seeing him on stage again.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think you guys pretty much covered all bases there out of the stuff that I know that's coming out. Again,
wait, and Jeremy, aren't Saxon going to have a new album next year?
Yeah, I mentioned that. Yeah,
I said that.
Oh, how did I miss that?
February, Carpe Diem. Yeah.
Okay.
That's fine, Brad. We'll give you a pass on that. Yeah. So for anyone that's still out there saying that there isn't any good new music coming out, I feel sorry for you, because I think there's new music coming out all the time, every week. So next year, at the end of the year, we'll hopefully be back same place talking about our favorites of 2022. The
Ghost, probably.
Ghost, there you go. That's enough.
Ghost should have a new album.
Yeah.
I'm expecting, since they're going to be here in a couple of months, I'm expecting something to drop soon.
Yeah.
Because I would think they've got a new album for this tour, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah. Well, there's usually after the holidays, stuff starts to drop. If you look at, I couldn't even do new releases today because there were 2 new releases, literally. Everything else is reissues and live albums and greatest hits. And unfortunately, everything November onwards is usually geared towards buying stuff for Christmas. So so as a result, there isn't a lot of new material coming out. But once the second week of January hits, there'll be a lot of new material coming out. I've already got a list of things coming out all the way up to April. So there's definitely a lot of things that are being scheduled all the way up through the first quarter of the year. In any event, we are going to wrap things up here. I want to thank all you guys that joined me tonight. Jeremy, Brad, Steve, Johan, Jerry, Rob, who was in here before. Everyone in the chat, from Jose to Chris to the guys from Fiction 6. And anyone that's watching this or listening to this after the fact, thank you for taking the time out to watch this or listen to this. I appreciate it 100%. And I appreciate all you guys for being patrons that are here live with me. I don't know how else to say thank you, but if it wasn't for you guys, honestly, and with all the feedback that we have from you guys and being here on the Friday shows and Tuesdays and every time that I switch things up in between, I wouldn't be putting out stuff as frequently as I have been this past year. So I want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart, 100%. So thank you guys. Thanks again, everyone, for watching and listening to this. And on that note, we will see you back in 2022. Jeremy has decided to go sideways before the end of the show here. But that is it, folks. We will see you next time again. Happy New Year, season's greetings, all that good stuff. See you next time right here on the Signals from Mars live stream.